You are landing on Cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant, just try to be nice. For hate there is no space, don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the poles. Don't hate, but create. Of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the poles. Don't hate, but create.
Hello guys, how are you? I hope my sound is good. Today we are going to talk about Ron Logan, about Reese Davis, about, of course, who do you think? Keegan Klein, for sure. Let me see who's here. Finn is here. Hello, Finn. Nice to have you here. Mar, long time no see. Happy to have you here, Mar. Just my opinion. How are you? Just my opinion. I'm gonna start with this clip. Is gonna take around 10 minutes. I found it randomly in YouTube. I think it's gonna be like a good start for the show. It's a small channel. It's like 44 subscribers, and I found it cool. I really don't like clips made with artificial intelligence. It's not like very personal, let's say, but this one is cool. It's cool, and it's gonna be like a good introduction for the subject that we're gonna talk. We're gonna treat today. Sindel's here from the Netherlands. Hey, your driver crashed today, Verstappen. It wasn't his fault, but sorry for him, and sorry for the Netherlands. Carol is here. How are you, Carol? Nice to have you here. So, no more protocol. Let's go with this video. It's going to be a good introduction. And let's talk about it, guys.
Down the hill. So I'm told that this is the tree that matches the GPS coordinates from the Logan search warrant, according to murder sheet. That's the tree, according to a leaked warrant. Ron Logan's phone pinged right there.
For years, the name echoed with unanswered questions, a haunting mystery that gripped the nation. Then, in 2024, a verdict. Richard Allen was found guilty, sentenced to 130 years for the brutal killings of Abby Williams and Libby German. Case closed? Justice served? Maybe not. Just when we thought the shadows were lifting, a shocking twist has emerged, throwing everything into question once again. Or Richard Allen maintains his innocence. And now his defense team is fighting back, armed with explosive new claims that could unravel the entire case. Claims of a confession from another man.
is because of how strong Tuesday was for the defense. Tuesday was such an important day for Richard Allen and his attorneys inside this Carroll County courtroom. In fact, I want to recap. If you weren't with us yesterday, I want to mention quickly 3 important witnesses that the defense called yesterday supporting their arguments in this case. Let me start first with a psychiatrist who told the jurors, who told the court yesterday that Richard Allen was, quote, absolutely showing signs of delirium while he was in prison just a few months ago. We also heard from a forensic scientist who specialized in firearms and crime scene reconstruction. He talked a lot about that cartridge that was found between the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German at the crime scene when the girls were found. On Tuesday, we also heard from a digital examiner who gave us brand new digital data in this case. And this was perhaps the most talked about information that came.
The bombshell comes from inside prison walls. Ron Logan, a name already tangled in the Delphi story. He owned the very land where Abby and Libby's bodies were discovered. Logan was once a prime suspect himself, his property searched, his movements scrutinized. But he was never charged and died in 2020. Now, from beyond the grave, Logan is back at the center of the Delphi nightmare. A fellow inmate, Richie Davis, serving time for meth dealing, claims Logan confessed to him, confessed to the Delphi murders. Davis says Logan detailed a step-by-step account of the killings, right there in their prison cell block at Newcastle Correctional Facility. According to Davis's signed statement from June 2017, Logan allegedly said he was the one who had killed those girls, that it got out of hand. Davis says Logan described leading the girls into the woods, onto his property. He said when they wanted to turn back, panic set in. Logan claimed he grabbed the younger girl to reassure her, but it escalated. He admitted to cutting the older girl, Libby, with a box cutter. And then, chillingly, he confessed to killing both, because, in his words, it was took too far. Logan's alleged confession is disturbingly detailed. Details that resonate with the known facts of the Delphi murders. Davis told investigators that Logan described using a box cutter to slit Libby's throat. A detail chillingly confirmed by autopsy reports, which pointed to a box cutter as the likely murder weapon. A detail that wasn't public knowledge back in 2017, when Logan supposedly confessed. Even more unsettling, Davis claims Logan confessed to returning to the crime scene later that evening, while search parties were out looking for the girls. He said Logan admitted trying to move Libby's body to hide it further, and phone data from 2017 seems to back this up. Records show Logan's phone pinged near the crime scene, not just around the time of the murders, but again late that night. Data that aligns eerily with Logan's alleged confession. It's crucial to remember Ron Logan wasn't just some random name that surfaced later. He was a prime suspect right from the start. In the frantic early days of the investigation, law enforcement zeroed in on him. So much so that the FBI was brought in.
The time that all this was happening, I was in Lafayette. Yeah. And I didn't get home till approximately 6:30 in the evening, and then the neighbor stopped to ask for permission to look back here for the girl.
And an FBI agent, Nicole Robertson, believed there was enough evidence to warrant a deep dive into Logan's life.
On there.
Nothing that I recognize at all. No one. I don't recognize the voice at all.
Stephen asked Ron Logan to repeat those same chilling words. Listen.
Down the.
She secured a search warrant for his home, convinced he held the key to this horrific puzzle. And what fueled that suspicion? Logan's own phone. Agent Robertson's warrant revealed a critical piece of digital evidence. Ron Logan's phone pinged in the area of the Monon High Bridge Trail at approximately 2:09 p.m. on February 13th, 2017.
I mean, what the fuck? 2:09 is like 5 minutes before the start of the video. The video started at 2:13. So how so Ron Logan's phone was pinging at 2:09 at the vicinity of the Monon Heights Bridge? This is another weird thing here in this case. Let's repeat that because it's I know this is no new information, but we know that this was not allowed to be presented during the process. So Ron Logan's phone, the phone of the guy, where the girls, the phone of the guy owning the land where the girls were found, was pinging at 2:09 p.m. near to the bridge the same day of the murders, just 5 minutes before the video was started to be taken. So this is freaking weird. And why was not disallowed to be presented during the process?
Ron Logan's phone pinged in the area of the Monon High Bridge Trail at approximately 2:09 p.m. on February 13th, 2017, the very day Abby and Libby vanished. Remember, prosecutors estimate the murders occurred around 2:32 p.m., just minutes after that phone ping. Logan was there. He was in the immediate vicinity at the critical time, but the data gets even more damning. Sue, the same phone data shows something chilling. Logan received a text message at 10:16 p.m. that night. And again, the data indicated his phone was likely outside of his residence and in the proximity of where LG and AW's bodies were located. Not just once, but twice later that evening, Logan's phone was pinging near the area where Abby and Libby's bodies would ultimately be found. This data lined up with Logan's alleged confession to Richie Davis, the confession where he admitted to returning to the scene later that evening. Another detail from Logan's confession eerily matches the evidence. Davis recounted that Logan said he attempted to move Libby's body. And during Richard Allen's trial, crime scene reconstructionist Pat Cicero testified that Libby's body was indeed dragged to its final location. Furthermore, Allen's attorneys are highlighting Logan's alleged mention of a box cutter in his confession. Because when Logan supposedly confessed these details, the fact that the girls' throats were slit and that a box cutter was the likely weapon was not public knowledge. However, Logan's alleged confession also has inconsistencies. While he referenced a sexual assault, he never mentioned other specific crime scene details that were public, such as Libby being nude.
Well, not mentioning specific details is not an inconsistency. So this is like a mistake here from this guy. What is the relation between an inconsistency and not telling specific details? I don't know. This guy was lost here. So you can tell a story without being specific in the details, and at the same time, you are not being inconsistent with your story. So I disagree here with him.
Or Abby wearing Libby's clothes. Despite the compelling phone data, the search warrant, and now this alleged confession containing uncannily accurate details, Ron Logan was never officially named a suspect and certainly never charged. The investigation, for reasons we still don't fully understand, shifted its focus elsewhere, eventually leading to Richard Allen. But now, with these new claims, the spotlight is swinging back, demanding we ask, did we overlook crucial clues? Did a confession from beyond the grave get buried? And is the truth about the Delphi murders even more twisted than we imagined?
Just a quick stop here to answer to Simdal. That's the thing. If the phone was at the house, the phone was pinging the whole time, the whole afternoon. But he said that he was at Lafayette buying fish or something like that at the time of the events, that he couldn't be near to the bridge or to his house at that time, and his phone was pinging at 209, near to the vicinity of the bridge. I know that there's a marge of error here, but still very fishy. It doesn't add up with the with his story.
And Richie Davis's story doesn't end with Logan. He claims another inmate, Keegan Klein, also confessed details to him. Keegan Klein, serving a 40-year sentence for child exploitation, was himself linked to the Delphi case through a fake online.
Everything comes back to Keegan Klein at the end. Everything, every single story here in this case comes back to Keegan Klein. I don't know if in Spanish we say todos los caminos van a Roma, like every path goes to Roma, to Rome in Italy. It's the same thing. Every path here goes to Keegan Klein. It's crazy. Well, it's not crazy. It's logic.
Online profile used to communicate with Libby German. Davis says Klein corroborated Logan's confession, sharing details that could only be known by someone involved in the killings. He even claims Klein expressed relief after Allen's conviction, believing he was no longer a suspect. When Davis asked Klein if Allen was involved, Klein allegedly said Allen had nothing to do with the murders. A tangled web of confessions, accusations, and denials, all within the confines of prison walls. But here's where the plot thickens even further. Richard Allen's defense team is now demanding answers about letters and a recorded interview involving Richie Davis. They claim Davis wrote as many as 8 letters to the Carroll County prosecutor during Allen's trial, detailing what Logan and Klein allegedly told him. Letters, they say, that were never shared with the defense. Defense attorney Andrew Baldwin states that these letters were never disclosed, and the prosecutor refuses to confirm or deny even receiving them. Davis also claims he gave a recorded interview to police, an interview the defense has also never seen. Did these letters and this interview ever exist? And if so, why were they kept hidden from Richard Allen's defense? The defense is demanding the prosecution hand over any letters, any recordings, any communication related to Richie Davis. They argue this new evidence, especially Logan's alleged confession and the withheld information, exculpates Mr. Allen and would probably produce a different result at a retrial. They believe these revelations could shatter the prosecution's case and potentially free Richard Allen.
We've been able to identify almost everybody else that's been on that trail, and this gentleman has not been identified, and we want to know what he saw, what he might have seen on the trail. Did he see somebody else that maybe some of the others didn't see?
The prosecutor has yet to respond. The sheriff and Indiana State Police are silent. The questions linger, heavy and unsettling. Did Ron Logan confess to the Delphi murders? Were crucial pieces of evidence deliberately withheld? And most importantly, is Richard Allen truly guilty, or is there a darker, more twisted truth still hidden in the shadows of Delphi? The fight for answers, and perhaps for a retrial, is just beginning.
I think I lost my camera. Okay, I think I'm back. Let's see. One second. Sorry for that. Okay, give me just 1 second, guys. Here. Oh, what's going on with my camera? Okay, I'm back, I think. Amy, I think Klein is lying, but I believe people share the access to many people. I believe he shared access to many people. He probably has no idea who was accessing things. Oh, well, we know that Keegan Klein is a liar for sure. I don't know if he was lying to Rizzy Davis or not, but I think that some things are make sense. When he was talking about the way Libby was moved from the area, when he was talking about the sticks, the satanic scenario there, some things are like, it makes sense. But again, we know that he's a liar. I don't know if he was lying to Rizzy Davis or not. But what I know is that he was not lying when he was giving his testimony at the Grissom Air Force Base before the search of the Wabash River, because law enforcement, they are not that stupid to search the river for 6 weeks and to spend $1 million to go to search the Wabash River. But yeah, in the case of Rizzy Davis, who knows? I don't know if he was lying or not. Hard to say. Hello, RC99. Hello, Mustang. Happy to see you here. Again, I think this video, I'm not a fan of artificial intelligence videos, but I think this one was a good introduction for the subject we are gonna have today. We're gonna talk about Ron Logan first. And yesterday I saw a video made by the channel R&M Productions, Angela Saudowski. What does it mean, R&M Production? I don't know. But it was really interesting because she showed some pictures of the house of Ron Logan in that video, like 1 month after the date of the murders. And this is really interesting. I'm gonna play that video, and we're gonna talk about that because there are some fishy things there. Let me see who is here. Amy, I think he sold files on the Dropbox. You mean Keegan? For sure. We know that he was very transactional, that he was making money in the dark web. I think that some powerful people in that community were involved in that Dropbox, and that's maybe why Keegan Klein was not linked to the murders by law enforcement. That's my opinion. Let me just say hello to you guys here. Casey, I don't believe Will Barrow could have gotten to the crime scene. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but again, at the Grissom Air Force Base, they had a polygraph. Rizzy Davis, he didn't have a polygraph. I don't know how good is the nose of Rizzy Davis. I know that you were in contact with him. Great interviews you made with Rizzy Davis, Amy. Great interviews. What's your feeling? Not your feeling, but what's the feeling of Rizzy Davis? Does he think that Keegan Klein was lying to him or not? Because that's maybe a good information, or he doesn't know. I don't know. Like the stream, yeah, like the stream, guys. Hit the like for sure. Thank you, Simdad, for reminding us the importance of great video. Check it out. Yeah, it was a great video. And this channel, I'm gonna put. I didn't do it, but I'm gonna put his the description in the link in the description after ending this live. But yeah, it was good. It was nice. RC99, I know you think Keegan Klein did that backroom deal, but interesting he didn't officially cooperate with law enforcement. What do you mean he didn't officially? If he was a confidential informant or informer, as he was filed, I think it's clear that he was cooperating with law enforcement. Just the fact to be at the Grissom Air Force Base making a confession, that means that he was officially cooperating with law enforcement. I don't understand your comment. And I'm not trying to make a fighter here, but of course, if he confessed, he was cooperating with law enforcement. I don't understand your comment. Jones, hi Jones, how are you? Did the cop used for Anthony Schott's account graduate in Indiana? I don't know. Luis Cuevas, how are you, Luis? Happy to have you here. Amy, I believe Rizzi was told those things, but I don't think Keegan Klein was being honest. By the time Keegan got to prison, he had enough info about the crime to make things up. Yeah, that's a good point. I agree with you. 100%. So now I'm gonna go with the video made by R&M. Again, what does it mean, R&M Productions? If you know, I'm just curious. So they showed this video yesterday, and we can see some pictures of the Ron Logan's house, right 1 month after the date of the events. And it's very interesting because there was enough time for Ron Logan to clean the house. Well, you're gonna see the pictures. We cannot say to clean the house because that house is like a disaster. But there are very, very interesting information here. So this is gonna be like around 15 minutes. And I think it's really interesting. So let's play it.
On March 17, 2017, investigators searched Ron Logan's home and property in connection with the Delphi murders. Despite the fact that Abby and Libby's bodies were found 1,400 feet from Ron Logan's residence, investigators waited 31 days to conduct a search of his home and property. On May 19, 2017, after being asked to provide assistance and consult on the case, a longtime IMPD homicide detective sent a lengthy email to Delphi investigators detailing his thoughts and investigatory recommendations. This detective was particularly focused on Ron Logan and offered the following. With respect to the search warrant served at Ron Logan's home, were any of the sink traps from the sinks, tub, shower, etc. examined for blood and sent to the lab for analysis? If not, is it possible to obtain another search warrant to collect all the sink, tub, and shower traps? When searching for evidence from a homicide involving large amounts of blood loss, this suggestion seems like Investigation 101. Unfortunately, the Delphi investigation was mishandled from the very start, and the complacency, ineptitude, and tunnel vision of investigators left critical evidence lost, contaminated, and destroyed before it could ever be collected or tested. The IMPD detective's suggestion to collect the sink traps and re-examine the plumbing on Ron Logan's property was an excellent one, and it came 31 days too late. Photographs taken during the March 17, 2017 search of Ron Logan's property and home show a home that was unkept and in complete disarray. with the exception of one room, a recently renovated and completely pristine bathroom. By the time investigators finally searched Ron Logan's home, they had given him 31 days to completely remove and replace his plumbing, destroying any and all forensic evidence with it.
Neighboring fire departments and state police were called out to help, searching the area in the dark until calling off the search just before 1 a.m. Then on Tuesday, the search team started looking again.
We are north of that railroad bridge. I believe we're in location. We're going to start searching this area.
State police's helicopter also joining in.
21, copter 5.
Then all of a sudden on the ground, someone noticed footprints.
The general direction that they are walking in, or the tracks are leading to walk in, and try to keep everybody out of that general area.
Then at 12:15,
Girls have been found.
I mean, we had one person that we thought has to be him. And then as we got into it, we found out there was no way it could have been him. So, you know, there's the ups and downs in any type of job.
This is the spot where those girls' teen bodies were found. The entire area was actually blocked off by caution tape. That was
sorry guys, I was muted. What I was saying was that
also joining in.
21, copter 5.
Then all of a sudden on the ground, someone noticed footprints.
The general direction that they are walking.
Yeah, I was talking about this image here, guys. If we see this picture, the level of the water in the creek is significant, in my opinion. This is not an insignificant level of water. In other pictures that are like all around of the internet, we can see that the level of the water is not the same. It's really like nothing. But this was just one day after the murder. So I wonder, and the question is for you guys, if this was the path the bridge guy and Abby and Libby were crossing or using to go from one side of the creek to the other side, that means that it was not an easy cross, in my opinion. And we know that Abby and Libby, they were short. Blitz guy, possibly short. I don't know about the height of Blitz guy. To me, it's not clear yet. So what do you think, guys? If this was the actual area or location where Blitz guy and the girls allegedly crossed the creek, that means that it was not easy to cross. It's not insignificant. I mean, it's not that the water is at the level of your neck, of course not, but it's not an easy cross, in my opinion, especially if you are handling two girls to cross from one side to the other one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we can talk about it later.
Walking in, or the tracks are leading to walk-in, and try to keep everybody out of that general area.
Then at 12:15,
Girls have been found.
I mean, we had one person that we thought has to be him, and then as we got into it, we found out there was no way it could have been him. So, you know, it just, there's the ups and downs in any type of job.
This is the spot where those girls' teen bodies were found. The entire area was actually blocked off by caution tape, but that was removed earlier tonight. We're getting our first look at that scene. We actually walked around this 40 acres of private property with the owner. That's Ron Logan, who you see here in this photo. He showed us the area and the rough terrain. Also, police telling us at this point they do not have any suspects in this case. Right now, they're still going after him with the mindset that he could very well be a local. Now, the FBI profile that is in the works right now will give police a better idea of who exactly they are looking for, because they do have that voice and they do have that grainy photo, but this looks at behavioral aspects of that person. So behavioral analysts from the FBI can identify certain personality traits, behavioral traits, and lifestyle things that the suspect would have. All of that information then gives police clues to what kind of things they can be looking for when they're serving those search warrants here in Carroll County.
I know that we have the human element. We have a very solid science element. We're using every capable process.
A very solid science element. And we have the bullet extraction marks, junk science. That was the element linking Richard Allen to the crime. And Carter is here saying that they have a solid science elements in this case. Yeah, right.
That we have from a scientific perspective, as everyone would expect us to. And we will
Scientific perspective. Seriously.
continue to do that till there's nothing left to do.
Would that include DNA?
It does.
Was DNA found at the scene?
It includes DNA.
We haven't ruled out the possibility that it's a local person. Every time we can clear somebody, it gets us closer, where we're confident that somewhere in these tips that we have some valuable information. Every time we can eliminate one, we can move on to the next.
Investigators executed a search warrant at the home of this man, Ron Logan, who owns the property where the bodies of 13-year-old Abigail Williams and Liberty German were found. Cops took away a white Ford pickup truck during the search.
Who is safe here or anywhere else anymore?
Ron Logan is now in custody on an unrelated probation violation. I recently spoke to him about the murders.
You just cannot believe this terrible thing that happened to the community and the families actually happened here on my property in my backyard.
He told me he has an alibi, buying tropical.
I mean, to be fair, it's a huge backyard. It's like the extension of land there is huge. So it's not like you are in your house and you have your backyard right at the back of your house. We have to be fair at some point here. It's a huge backyard.
Fish 20 miles away.
Yeah, I was not home during the time that all this was happening. I was in Lafayette. And I didn't.
So that's my point, Simdal. He was at Lafayette, but his phone was pinging at 2:09 p.m. near to the vicinity of the bridge. So how can you reconcile that? You were saying that maybe the phone was at his house, so that means that the phone was pinging the whole time there. But it was not the case. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It's weird. It's weird.
Get home to approximately 6:30 in the evening, and then the neighbor stopped, asked for information to look back here for the girls.
I asked Ron Logan to repeat those same chilling words.
Down the hill.
Breaking news from my teammates.
I mean, if people say that when Richard Allen says down the hill is the exact match of Bridge Guy, we cannot say the opposite here. It's just like the same thing. When you hear Ron Logan saying down the hill, you can picture Bridge Guy at the same time. It's the same thing. And in my case, when I hear Keegan Klein talking, I can picture this guy. So the voice match is just nonsense here.
Stunning new revelations in the Delphi murders and a potential early suspect in the case.
It's this 9-page request for a search warrant filed March 17th of 2017. Now, that's a little more than a month after Libby German and Abby Williams were found murdered in Delphi.
Large amount of blood was lost by the victims at the crime scene. Because of the nature of the victim's wounds, it is nearly certain the perpetrator of the crime would have gotten blood on his person or clothing. 2 articles of clothing from one of the girls was missing from the crime scene, while the rest of their clothing was recovered. It also appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged. The search warrant is for the property of Ronald Logan, who owned the land where the girls were found dead. It describes his activity the day the girls went missing. The agent says Logan claimed someone drove him to an aquarium store in Lafayette on the afternoon of February 13th, at the time the girls disappeared. These statements were found to be factually false and intentionally designed to deceive law enforcement officers. Logan contacted his cousin and asked him to tell that story before the bodies were found. Based on investigators' experience, it is reasonable to believe that the creation of an alibi prior to the discovery of a crime indicates culpability or knowledge of the crime.
An FBI search warrant has just been released, revealing they searched Logan's home.
The picture is of such poor quality, it doesn't look like anyone I've ever seen.
Logan is now dead.
Well, I think it's the opposite. It looks like everyone. It looks like everyone. You can do a side-by-side between Finn and this guy, and you can get a match. Or between Cryptex and Blitz Guy, and you can get a match. Or between Simdal and Blitz Guy, and you can get a match. So side-by-sides here are just stupid, in my opinion, again.
Reportedly of COVID. He was never charged in the case, and it is unclear whether he was ever considered an official.
And if we get conspirationalist, what's the name? Conspirationist? Did he die of COVID, or was he abstained? I don't know. Let's see.
Suspect.
Who would have thought they'd let their children out to do something special that day, take a trip down, and then turn out with a disaster like this?
The girls' bodies were found on private property roughly 50 feet away from Deer Creek. We spoke with the man who owns that property, Ron Logan, there. He told us today the crime has already changed his life.
As something like this happened on your own house, your own home, and I just can't get my mind around it yet. This is the gate they left down.
2 days after the bodies were discovered, Ron Logan showed us around his property.
Yeah, there's the crime scene down there. See how the ground's much more matted down right in there? I think you're right there. This is my backyard. My backyard just happens to be bigger than most people. How many people have a murder committed at their home in their backyard? All I can tell you, they were in the center of that tape. If you see it, it goes around a loop. And that's the last pictures they had at the end of the bridge.
How difficult, I mean, you know this land better, 53 years here, right?
Right.
How difficult is that to get from the bridge to that area?
On this side, very difficult. Very difficult. Very difficult.
We also spoke with him multiple times, and he even walked us back to the crime scene.
I can't really wrap my emotions around it. It's just so mind-boggling. I haven't really caught up. It hasn't caught up with me yet. They had the whole woods lit up. It looked like a football field out here. It's rough. Back of my properties here, there's a ravine on that. It goes way down. It's real deep. Ground runs like this, and it's real difficult to navigate.
Well, Logan showed us for the very first time that crime scene tonight. Investigators have lifted the crime scene tape from this area and tell us they're going through hundreds of tips trying to find any information that could lead to a possible suspect or suspects in this double murder investigation. So take a look at this video walking through with Ron Logan today. He's showing us the property. He knows this treacherous terrain better than anyone. So in order to get down there, like I mentioned, went down a large ravine that was so steep, we pretty much had to walk sideways to get down that way. And this is where the girls were found. It's less than half a mile from the Monon High Bridge where they were last seen on Monday. Officers still processing.
This is maybe something stupid, but I found this image weird. It's not the first time I see this image. And in some TV news, they stop the camera for a couple of seconds showing this picture. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just me making some stupid ideas in my mind, but it's weird. They stop the camera here and they keep this still image for like 3 or 4 seconds. Is a lot. It's a lot of time in TV news for a still image like that. Like, I don't know. What does it mean? We can see a stick here. It's broken. This is maybe a footprint. It's like a message for the killer or for the killers. I don't know. I found it weird. It's a lot of time on TV news, 3 or 4 seconds, using a still image like this one. Maybe it's nothing again, but I found it interesting.
Processing evidence that they gathered here. They were out here for hours ever since those girls went missing. They're looking for any clue that could lead to the person or persons who killed 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German. The scene may be clear tonight, but Logan tells me his property won't ever be the same.
I want to show you everything, how they could have got here, because you're going to be as confused as I am. The high bridge is right across the creek here. It runs all the way down where this creek and the land joins together. Where they joined together is the last photographs taken of the girls. So they had to come all the way through this territory, get down in here. It's not an easy trip.
No, it's hard to hear a lot of these questions, and certainly difficult to hear those two stories of the two different alibis given to two different reporters, one to us and one to other reporters. Can you account for those two alibis of your client?
Good evening. I cannot comment on the facts of the case at this time, and I certainly can't account for that at this time.
He is still involved with that investigation, but I would not attach the label of suspect to him.
Ron Logan was arrested and today sentenced on a completely unrelated charge. The 77-year-old denies any connection to the murders. Today, he was sentenced to more than 3 years in prison after pleading guilty to a probation violation and being a habitual traffic offender.
Again, he's just part of that investigation. That it's just part of the investigation that's been involved. Again, he's been covered.
So he uses the word covered, that Ron Logan has been covered. He doesn't use the word cleared. So covered, what does it mean, covered? We know investigated, but so it wasn't cleared. And Richard Allen was cleared. When we talk about the lost tip, Richard Allen was cleared like 3 days after the date of the events, and Ron Logan was not cleared but covered. So interesting, huh?
And so, other than being on surveillance at the fish store, is there any other evidence that proves you didn't do it?
Well, I don't know why you would have to have anything else. The girls were being murdered, and I'm in Lafayette. How much more do you need?
His receipt for his fish purchase was at 5:21 p.m. For his alibi to be correct, he would have needed to arrive 3 hours prior to that. And it's a very small fish store. I doubt he was there for 3 hours.
There's not that many fish in the sea.
There's not that many fish.
Back to 5/15/2017, so just after the murders, within months, contacted the FBI public access line to report a tip on the Delphi homicide.
So he could be at the bridge at 2:09, as his phone was showing pinging near to the bridge, and then after that he could go to Lafayette. So it's not crazy that he could participate in the crime, and then he went to Lafayette, to that fish store. You know what I mean?
Homicide. Logan confessed to Reese or Ricky a step-by-step of killing the two girls. Logan told Reese how he burned his clothes in a fire pit and where it was located, used box cutters and struggled with one of the girls, and thought.
So this is interesting. Box cutters, part of the Reese Davis confession in 2017, something that only the killer would know. So how can we explain that? It's hard to explain,
thought drops of blood from his nose ended up on their clothes. Reese also advised that he killed the older girl first.
He talked a lot about how his attorney and his son told him in the days and weeks after the murders that his mouth was going to get him arrested for double murder.
Analysis of Logan's cell phone data revealed a text message received by his phone at 10:16 p.m. on February 13th, 2017. Initial examination of his analysis indicates Logan's phone was likely outside of his residence and in the proximity of where Libby and Abby's bodies were located.
One of the defense witnesses at trial testified that somebody plugged an auxiliary cable into Libby's phone at 5:32 p.m. after the murders, after the time the state says Richard Allen would have left the scene.
And I think that the defense, they failed to challenge the whole cell phone stuff in this case. We know that the prosecution, the state, they were not prepared at all in that regards. We know that they were improvising, doing Google searches during the process to try to explain the sudden resurrection of the cell phone. And in my opinion, the defense, they didn't challenge enough that angle. So, in my opinion, they were not prepared, both sides, the defense and the prosecution, to defend that angle, the cell phone weird behavior. So that's sad, in my opinion. To me, this is still a mystery. I don't buy the water damage. To me, there's no yet a solid explanation for that.
And then removed that auxiliary cable at 10:32 p.m. The FBI said Ron Logan was in the proximity of the crime scene at 10:16. So that definitely does not look like a good fact for Ron.
When asked about his future, Logan told the judge, maybe in the future, someone won't be murdered in my backyard.
And I concluded, that anything, all this that happened to me was my fault. But in fact, I only had 4 weeks to go on my probation, and it was a non-issue thing. In other words, I was done. If they'd have waited a few more days, or another month, or whatever, before they got themselves killed.
That's a weird statement here. Or whatever before they got themselves killed. What the fuck is that? It's like he's blaming the girls for their own murder. This is really a weird statement here. I mean, I'm not an expert on language analysis, but what do you think about these guys? It's just crazy. Or whatever before they got themselves killed. He's blaming them. So something happened there. It's just insane.
Nothing would have happened to them. And you've been down there, you've seen that.
Oh, that's not an easy walk down.
He said that because I was able to walk up and down that hill, I was perfectly capable of doing that. They don't realize how much effort it took just to get me up and down that hill.
Right.
I sure as hell ain't going to be dragging anybody with me.
So, and that's the end of this video. I think it's really interesting. I liked the pictures of Ron Logan's house 1 month after the date of the murders. Really weird that he was like modifying some rooms, the bathroom, the disarray of the other chambers, the other rooms. It's really interesting. It's really, I don't know, telling. So was he trying to destroy some evidence? Was he trying to cover his own actions there? He had enough time to do that. I'm gonna go to your comments here, guys, for a while before continuing with the next video. Simdals, case, those interviews are great. Yeah, the interviews she made to Rizzy Davis are awesome. But how do you determine if he's not just trying to get commissary, not throwing shade? Yeah, good question. USA Libertarian. Prosecutors have discretion. They could make a verbal deal to not prosecute. You mean between Keegan Klein law enforcement? Yeah, to me it's evident that there was a deal between Keegan and law enforcement. It's clear as crystal in my mind. I understand if you disagree, of course. RC99, indeed. I mean, he never got the desired outcome of immunity. How so? He got 43 years behind bars, and those 43 years are going to be reduced. Compare 43 years with death penalty, and compare 43 years with what's the name? Life sentence. It's nothing, and he's not old. He's like 27, 28, maximum 30 years old, Keegan Klein. So 43 years is going to be reduced to 15 or 14 or 13. He's not going to serve 43 years at all. So of course, if he made a deal, it was a very good deal for him. He's gonna be free soon. It's an awesome deal. Awesome deal. Amy, some people don't know. Rizzy was a huge payout by the prison for a medical claim. He doesn't need money. His uncle just needs help getting Rizzy's funds on his account. He's older and not good with technology. Good information. Thank you for that. His testimony would be very inconvenient for the prosecution. You mean Keegan? I don't understand that question. USA Libertarian. Keegan Klein got a lot of time for his catfishing, but thus far he hasn't been prosecuted for Delphi. Yeah, exactly. Again. Yeah, I was muted. Sorry for that. I was doing my Charles Chaplin moment. Sorry for that. Trial Junkie. They destroyed so many structures. Yeah. Ron Logan, yeah. The whole bathroom was renovated, and yeah, maybe he was just trying to destroy some evidence. Yeah, sorry guys, sorry for that. I know I was muted. So USA Libertarian. I wonder when exactly did the expert decide it could have been a box cutter? Yeah, good question, USA, as usual. And they have to hold onto each other because the water is so fast. Yeah, exactly. They were holding one to each other. The streaming was not like an easy streaming, you know what I mean? Good point. Good observation. I agree. Simdal, first warm day in February. Lots of melting snow. High water, yeah. Good observation again. Yeah. This is the sentence of the day by USA Libertarian. Thank you for that. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. That's why we are here still talking about this case, because nothing adds up. It's crazy. It's insane. It's, the pieces are not fitting together for sure. Trial Junkie, there is an area that is very shallow in the summer, yeah. Amy, we are working on the water levels, elevation, and how hard it would be for Abby to cross. Episode 13. Okay, we are gonna be attentive to your episode for sure. Interesting. Yeah, I think it's gonna be very difficult for one guy holding two girls crossing that creek with that level of water. I don't know. Finn has to be him. No way it could be him. So they cleared someone early on. We know that they cleared Richard Allen the first week of the murder, so he was cleared. We don't know what happened there. Most have stopped at tip 73. Yeah, good point. Cyber Warrior is in the house. Or is Cyber? Cyber Warrior. I came in at the time Ron Logan's voice was compared to Bridge Guy's. I don't think they come close to sounding alike. To me, it's just impossible to compare. It's just impossible. The voice sample is too short, and it's just your mind trying to make comparisons. People saying that Richard Allen's voice matches Bridge Guy voice. I mean, at least when we had the stepbrother of Keegan Kline in the murder sheet, that guy, he used to hear or to listen to Keegan Kline his whole life. So he's a good point of reference. And he said in that interview with the murder sheet that the voice of Bridge Guy and the voice of Keegan Kline was a match. But at least this is someone that used to talk to Keegan the whole life. But we don't have any sample of Richard Allen. Now we have some interviews, but that's nothing. I mean, we don't know Richard Allen. So I don't think we can do that type of voice comparisons. Again, the Bridge Guy voice sample, Guys Down the Hill, is just too short to be able to make any comparisons. And it's not me saying that, it's experts in voice analysis comparisons, you know what I mean? Trial Junkie. Derek said in trial that he searched to the left of the bridge until midnight. And we know that if that area was really light up, the visibility was, to me, was good enough to observe the bodies. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's fishy. It's crazy here. Did they find Abby's gray jacket? Good question. So, Finn, huge is relative. Is 6 acres? How do you pronounce acres? Huge is not really around here. Okay, maybe it's not really around here. I have like 1 meter. No, not 1 meter, but let's say 1 car. The distance of 1 car at my backyard. So when I compare my backyard with 6 acres, to me it's huge. But anyway, I got your point. Trial Junkie. Ron Logan wears a shoulder satchel he has on with the green coat. Simda. I am way too tall for Bridge Guy. Okay, good to know. You're doxing yourself. USA Libertarian. It would be nice to know everywhere any blood was found, but I wonder if they even looked for all the blood. Yeah, good point. Let me go here. Think who may, Amy, think who may benefit if Logan went to prison and he lost his land. Yeah, interesting question, of course. Linda's Looking Miller. The water was higher on the 13th from the rapid snow melt. Yeah, that's a good point, I think. Simdal was talking about that again. Oh my God, Simdal is 194 centimeters. Holy shit, you're a basketball player, man? You're so tall. Oh shit. Now I'm scared of Simdal. Finn, Good point, Ron. Most people don't have a murder committed in their home. Yeah. Finn, real deep. Okay, I walked up and down the ravine. It's not real deep. Trail Junkie, I think you see something, Cryptex. I don't know. I try to connect some dots, maybe. What I think is that people that are convinced that they are right, they are just plain stupid. You cannot be right here. We are missing a lot of information. We are missing a lot of stuff. There are a lot of unanswered questions. So people saying that Richard Allen is the killer and the only one here is sorry, but they're just stupid. You cannot say that. We don't know what happened after the bridge situation with the girls. We don't even know if that guy in the bridge was involved in the crime. We don't know. Let me play some video here because I love this video. And it was made by a very beautiful soul in this community. I really love this guy. So you cannot say anything negative about him. It's Jim Wagoner. And let's play 5 minutes of this because it's just an awesome video. He's questioning the lack of specifics in the Richard Allen's confessions, because there are two things here, guys, in this case against Richard Allen, and you know that I think he's involved, but at the same time, I understand your thinking. You know, first thing, the connection to get an arrest here is that. Is that bullet situation, and we know that this is a junk science. So he was arrested because of his bullet, and he was convicted because of his confessions. But those confessions to me are just so questionable. So we don't know what happened here, and I'm gonna play this video it's 5 minutes from Jim Wagoner. I think if he's questioning the outcome of this case, is just big enough for me. Let's just play this video, guys, and we can talk about it. I already put this video in my channel, but I just love this guy, and let's just play this video, guys.
Has greatly contributed to the uncertainty, the lack of clarity in the case against Richard Allen on both ends has greatly contributed to the uncertainty with some of the veracity of his statements and of law enforcement and his conviction. So what troubles me is the lack of specificity and specifics regarding the circumstances around the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German way back in 2017. And what is equally troubling is, in spite of multiple alleged confessions from Richard Allen to his wife, mother, guards, prisoners, and just in general, you've probably heard some of the phone calls where he acknowledged killing the girls, he also isn't specific. I think if Richard Allen would like to confess and be specific about the circumstances of that day, February 13th, 2017, it would greatly help toward resolution for the families and for everyone, as much as that's even possible in such a horrible case like this. So it's unfortunate the prosecution under the leadership of Nick McLeland and law enforcement under the leadership of Jerry Holman who seemed to really badger and lie during the interrogation of Allen, so that doesn't help either. It just seems like there's a complete lack of clarity on what happened to the girls that day. It kind of reminds me of Joseph James D'Angelo and the East Area Rapist Golden State Killer case. You know, I worked with the original detectives researching that case quite a bit way back in the Michelle McNamara days. Before Richard Shelby, Detective Shelby, made his information dump to McNamara. And we all were optimistic. In fact, I think we took it for granted that we would finally get some answers regarding the circumstances around the East Area Rapist and Golden State Killer attacks. Well, thanks to the deal cut under DA Ann Schubert and Sacra Tomato, those answers were never forthcoming. D'Angelo's rotting away in Kern County, I believe, or he's in California in a prison in the high desert. Still no answers. He's not talking. He's in, obviously a very evil scumbag who was probably aided in some of his crimes. Maybe that's why he's not talking. I know some victims and victim family members would sure like more answers from D'Angelo's wife, Sharon Huddle. But back to the Allen case, we don't know. We still don't know what happened that day. Prosecution did not lay out exactly what happened, nor did they need to. And I'm sure that was tactical because they wanted to gain a conviction. And if they didn't need to do it, then they didn't need to do it. So this absolute lack of clarity has led to confusion regarding Allen's presumed guilt now, certainly based on the evidence we heard. And I think what really, really, really hurt him, and where the defense, which was vigorous and passionate, let him down, was they were unable to successfully challenge that unfired bullet evidence, which I think could have been scrutinized closer for the jury and maybe created a shadow of doubt regarding whether it actually belonged to Richard Allen's Sig Sauer handgun. So there you have it. We still, months after the conviction, and probably years from now, we won't know the circumstances of exactly what happened that day. Did Allen meet them online? Did he stalk them? Was he waiting on the trail? What are the circumstances? We don't know squat. As always, thanks for watching, sharing, liking, and subscribing. God bless.
By the way, share, like, and subscribe to this channel, guys. On here. So that was Jim Wagoner. I mean, we cannot be suspicious about this guy. This guy is just like the far right of this case. He's pro-prosecution, and he's that honest to be critic to law enforcement, and he's right. We don't know what happened. He just told us, guy, we don't know what happened there. The confessions were not specific, and those confessions were the elements that convicted Richard Allen at the end, but there are no details. Where are the details? There are no details. He's right. We don't know what happened at all. We can make theories, formulate hypotheses, whatever, but he's totally right. We don't know what happened, and there are a lot of unanswered questions, and that's why people are pissed here. Let me come back to the chat, guys. Here, the stick is broken. Yeah, in that picture, yeah, it's broken. Yeah, why do you think? Why are you asking, Trial Junkie? What's in your mind? Yeah, the stick is broken. Teresa, I think Ron Logan is the perpetrator. He admitted it twice, but he admitted it to another inmates. He didn't make a confession directly to law enforcement. The only real confession we have here is the one that Keegan Klein made. So we cannot say that Ron Logan confessed, because it was like, it was not a direct confession to law enforcement. That's weird. I don't know what are you talking about, Finn, but anyways, you're right. Everything here is weird. Everything here is weird. Disturber ground. USA Libertarian. Green grass and wet mode, possibly right near the bank. How would he know that? Oh, Candy's here. Hello, Candy. How are you? Nice to have you here, Candy, as usual. Chloe Ramirez. I hope you are not going to be family or relative to Richard Ramirez. Cryptex should say, guys down the hill. Guys down the hill from a Latino guy. I don't think it's going to be the best match here, guys, but we never know. Maybe. But this guy was a Latino guy like me. Who knows? Teresa. He was covered by his friend Slick Snake. USA Libertaria. Not that many fish in the sea. Yeah, I think I'm cleared. I can be the only one cleared here, guys. No, because there are multiple perpetrators, in my opinion, so you cannot rule me out. USA Libertarian seems awfully fishy to me. Yeah, I agree. Accent is something that can be faked. Yeah, good point too. Trial Junkie, in my opinion, Keegan confirmed what Logan said right after the murders. Yeah, but again, Keegan had that information after, it was not something he knew before. Candy, Keegan Klein did confirm enough to me about things if the staging was not already public that could be more convincing. Yeah, some things that were said by Rizzy Davis about Keegan Klein are very interesting at the least. He said that the whole situation about Abby being moved from the area and that because of that, because of the need to move the girl out of the Ron Logan's property, they redressed Abby. This is a great explanation. I mean, it's the best explanation about the girls being redressed that I heard in the whole case. No one was able to give a very good answer about that. And apparently, the best answer was given by Keegan Klein. So I know that I have a confirmation bias. I know that I'm stubborn about the clients, but this is the best explanation. I don't know, maybe 20 people here in my channel. Steve from True Crime Web, Who's Your Cold Cases, Skip Jansen, Sleuth, Ruckus, name it. A lot of Tom Webster. I asked to all of them the same questions. One of those questions were, what do you think about Abby being redressed with Libby's clothes? No one knows, and it's normal. It's a very weird situation. And the best answer we have, it comes from Keegan Klein. The girl was naked. We needed to move Abby out of the property in the car. So it's going to be weird to move a girl just naked like that. So we redressed the girl. We redressed Abby. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. This case is just insane. Eye of Apophis. Hello, I. Happy to have you here. I love Eye's videos. Man, you're a professional about video editing. I really love your videos, and you have a great taste about music. I think about who was there at sorry, I'm talking in French. Think about who was there at 5:30. 5:30. No searchers yet. So help us with that. Who was there at 5:30? Teresa, how can they convict Richard Allen and not even suspect Ron Logan. Yeah, I understand. I totally understand your point. They said that there was no nexus, but the bodies were there at the property of Ron Logan. The bodies of the girls were there. He fabricated an alibi. His phone was pinging at 2:09 p.m. near to the bridge. We know that geofencing data was not allowed to be part of this process. How weird is that? How weird is that? I understand your point, 100%. How can not even suspect Ron Logan? Well, they suspected Ron Logan. He was, as Tom Lisenby said, he was covered, but he should be he should be allowed to be part of the process, for sure. Nexus was there. And Nexus was in the Keegan Klein's situation as well. Simdal, how long does DNA last? Oh my God. Cryptex lives in Delphi? No, I don't. I live in Canada. I live in Montreal. I would like to go to Delphi. I don't know, guys, if you who lives in Delphi. I think maybe Finn, you live there. I would like to do to make a trip to Delphi, just to, I don't know, to be there and to talk to you guys, and maybe to gather some information. It would be nice just to be in that town. Candy, washed bodies, pristine scene, and bathroom. Yeah, what was going on there? So he was just by magic changing and remodeling his bathroom, Ron Logan, 1 month after the murders. How convenient is that? I understand your point. Trial Junkie, Derek was searching the area above the ravine at about 4 p.m. on the 13th. They didn't want to do what they want them to do. Trial Junkie, Ron never talks about going across to ER, to the river, you mean? He was a lot more suspect or suspicious on that Barbara interview than the TV interview, yeah. And when he was laughing, like a creepy laugh, yeah, exactly. That laugh, that was creepy, huh? Creepy. Seemed that he was very eager to insert himself. Please hit the like. Yeah, guys, hit the like. Come on. What are you waiting for? Hit the like. French, I wonder how much meth Ron consumed that weekend. I don't know if he was a consumer of drugs, but I know he was like an alcoholic. But meth addict, I don't know. I would never seek only bridge trolls. Yes, I have something weird here. Okay, sorry. Cyber Warrior. It's thought that Keegan wanted to know how long DNA lasts. Everything related to Keegan Klein is just weird. Or not weird, it adds up. So put the whole element surrounding Keegan Klein into a mixer, mix that, and you have the whole story here. It's yeah, the Marathon gas station. How convenient that that material was just lost. Of course, there was that Dropbox situation in regards of the Anthony Shots account. I think there were powerful people in that community involved in that Dropbox, and maybe that's why that Marathon gas station video was lost. And maybe that's why Keegan Klein is not officially linked to the crime. To me, he made a negotiation here again. you know what's my theory here, and I'm not gonna repeat it, but yeah, I agree with you. Something clear, the Richard Allen, the royal we. How are you? It doesn't happen magically or by mistake, of course. There is exculpatory evidence that was not handed over to the defense. That's the simplest explanation. Again, I think that someone with power was involved in the whole situation. He was cleared because someone with power in that community wanted Richard Allen to be cleared. And again, I know that my hypotheses are not the same as yours, but that's what I think. And I'm not gonna go there, but whatever. The royal way. I'm listening while painting. Oh wow! What are you painting? Your room, your bathroom. Painting is fun. Yeah, a couple of beers, music, painting. That's cool. Staining deck. Okay. USA Libertarian. Jim Wagoner minivan traveler is an original gangster. Yeah, he's awesome. And he had some type of skin cancer. I hope he's doing better. Low light recovery. How are you? Bunch of guys got together to plan out their year. They covered the logistics, and perhaps somebody went from probate to PATS. They'd all have civilian phones, and everyone would have been on best behavior. Oh, Fishy is here. How are you, Fishy? Don't hate, create. That's the best religion sentence ever. Don't hate, create. Jones, why wasn't Doolin blamed for losing this witness statement? Yeah. I like his work on the case. You mean Jim Wagoner? Yeah, he's great. He's great. I agree with you guys. He's awesome. Why would his information be misfiled or lost? Because it was inconvenient, of course. Jones, you just said, of course, it was not convenient. Let me go here with this guy looks like he's near my spot in Colorado. Yeah, he likes to hike. He loves hiking. Yeah. Hey, yeah, Amy. Nice comment. Hit the like, guys. Hit the like, subscribe for sure. And let me go here. Rebecca is here. Hello, Rebecca. How are you? A lot of comments, guys. Sorry if I'm missing some comments here. Trial Junkie. Logan confessed to Rizzi after the murders. Okay, Amy. Rizzi said that Keegan Klein is still trading little girl pics in prison. They order magazines and share and trade. Of course, he's never going to recover. It's a lost case. He's just a pervert piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. Makes me mad. So when we were talking about Ron Logan's phone pinging near to the vicinity of the crime scene at 2:09, right? Which was like 5 minutes before Libby started taking the video. We know that it's insane that the geofencing data was not allowed to be part of this process. And I understand that maybe the killer, if he was smart, maybe he didn't have his phone that day. So the geofencing data is not going to capture the killer's phone. But we have to know, we need to know who was there. Just to know what were his their observations. We know that, I don't know, I know, according to, if I remember well, if I recall properly, there were at least 3 phones in that geofencing data that were captured at around the time of the crime on the 13th. So who was there at that time? We know we talk about Daniel Pearson. We talk about what's the name of this guy, the flannel shirt guy, McCain, Dave McCain. Who was there exactly, and why are not we allowed to know the geofencing data during this process? I think in every process I see geofencing data is a tool used by the prosecution to arrest or to convict killers or suspects. But here, geofencing data was not allowed. So I don't understand. I'm gonna play this video that this creator Silky something made about geofencing data, because she had very good points about this. So it's gonna take 6 minutes, guys.
The Delphi case. And maybe you even thought from what you were hearing, they didn't have a very strong case against Richard Allen. But then, voila, the jury came back with a guilty verdict. And you're like, what? And then you start seeing all of these hashtags. What does that even mean? Because didn't the jury get it right? I mean, it wasn't televised. I wonder why it wasn't televised. And reporters were not allowed to even record, take pictures, or anything in the courtroom. 0 devices allowed. Okay, then. Well, in my opinion, there are a lot of reasons they didn't want information out there. Now, I'm going to break it down to you in a series of smaller events so you can see what I'm talking about. And it'll give you time to digest one thought at a time. But this time we're going to be building a case against the justice system. Now, as you know, the prosecution's whole case against Richard Allen hinged on the idea that he encountered the girls on the Monon High Bridge. They crossed over to the south side of the bridge where he unalived them shortly thereafter. However, there are key pieces of evidence that were strangely omitted, not only from the search warrant, but also from the trial. And this information raised very serious concerns about the integrity of the investigation and the case against Richard Allen. The first one we're going to talk about today is geofencing data. Okay, you don't know what a geofence is. Well, let me explain it to you, kind of condensed. You know that when you use a cell phone, that receives a signal from a certain tower, right? We've seen that in a lot of criminal cases, and that's also how your GPS locates you. But what you might not know is that it's not just a broad area. Okay, that's where a ping comes from, a certain tower. But geofencing is something that is way more precise. What geofencing does basically is it makes a grid, kind of like those little things that you did in school, the graphs. It's an invisible grid over areas. So they can tell by the geofencing data, not only did it come from a certain tower, but exactly which little square in that area that phone was in at a given time. Wow, they really are watching you. Now, in the case of Richard Allen, there was geofencing data for that specific area of the crime scene close to the Monon High Bridge. And this was crucial to the case because it showed phones in that area at the time that the prosecution claims the crime was committed. It didn't just show one, but 3 cell phones in that exact area. Oh, well, that should have been case closed, right? Yeah, the kicker is none of them were Richard Allen. What? You mean there were 3 people at the crime scene at the time of the crime and they weren't Richard Allen? Nope, they weren't. However, The prosecution petitioned Judge Gull to say, oh, we don't think this is relevant. We don't want this in the trial. Of course you don't, because that evidence would have been exculpatory. In other words, it would have excluded Richard Allen as being the perpetrator. Oh, but that would have contradicted the state's theory that Richard was the sole perpetrator and the only one at the crime scene. Well, that would be a problem, wouldn't it? Of course, the defense argued that this evidence was crucial to the case. But Judge Gull said, nah, it's inadmissible. Now, there is one more significant thing about the data on the cell phone that we're going to talk about right now, and that is the testimony of Sergeant Mitch Blocker of the Indiana State Police. Who is Mitch Blocker? You don't know much about him? Yeah, well, thank you, Judge Gull. In a conversation with the Delphi Police Department, Officer Steve Mullen on February 13th, 2017, Blocker stated that his interpretation of cell phone data suggested that the victim, they're talking about Liberty German, it suggested that her phone was no longer in the area or no longer in working condition. This conversation occurred between 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. on February 13th. During the time the prosecutor's timeline places the phone at the crime scene. What they knew from Mitch Blocker all the way on the 13th that phone was either not in the area or not in working condition, but yet prosecution would have you believe that phone remained under Abby's shoe, which was under Libby's body. But I don't get it. Yeah, neither do I. Now, while some people want to say that it wasn't in working condition, look, if you've ever had an iPhone or any kind of cell phone, you know that is a bunch of bogus horse crap. Because if your phone has water damage or is not in working condition, it's not just spazzing out, right? The whole phone goes dark. It's off. Y'all who have had to put your phone in a bag of rice like I have, we all know that. It takes a while, and when the phone is in workable condition, you have to power it on. So it's not just not in working condition. And then, voila, the next morning at 4 a.m. or around that time, it comes back on. Why, it is a modern miracle. Okay, so that is the first thing I want you to think about. There were other people in that area at the time of the crime, according to the geofencing data, and they know who those people are. What? So why aren't we talking to those people? I don't know. You tell me. And whatever you do, stay silky. Bye-bye. Okay, so maybe you were...
Great questions. Geofencing data not being allowed to be part of the process, it's just insane. Now that we have Amy here, case by case, and now that we were talking about Reese Davis and the confessions that Keegan Kline made to him, I want to finish this live by playing that interview that Amy made to Reese Davis, just the part when he talks about what Keegan Kline said about Libby being redressed with Libby's clothes. To me, this is an awesome information, even if that's not true. Is the best explanation ever about that situation, about Libby being redressed with Libby's clothes. I didn't listen to a better explanation before. Actually, we didn't have any explanation. This is the explanation. This is the explanation. Maybe it's a lie. Maybe Keegan Kline is smart enough to formulate a hypothesis that no one was ever to make here in this case. The know-it-all creators just saying that was just something made by the killer to mislead the investigators, while Keegan Kline was smart enough to create or to formulate a hypothesis that makes sense. You know what I mean? So either it's that was true, he was not lying, or he's bright and he formulated a very, very good hypothesis about that. So, with the permission of Amy, that I didn't ask, I'm gonna play again her interview to Reese Davis because I really love this material. So let's listen to this. Just 1 second, guys.
Hey. Are you there?
Hello? Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Everybody in chat said they could hear you in the beginning, but there towards the end you were fading off. So
Okay.
try really hard to keep your voice up. I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm with you.
Okay. So
Hopefully it's working.
okay, so let's get into, I know that everybody was kind of shell-shocked over hearing about the handcuffs. So I'm going to go ahead and cut you loose and let you talk about all of that without me trying to stop you. So the whole call grandma, call the cops, get into all of that.
All right. Okay. All right. So,
Hey, hold on real quick. Hey, Dee, tell Dee to mute her phone.
yeah, it was throwing me off too.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so talk loud and explain it about the handcuffs and what happened after the fact.
Okay, do you want me to start there, or is it like I don't understand what?
Yeah, start with the girls being taken off the bridge and what happened when they got off the bridge and.
Okay, sure, I got you.
Okay.
I got you, no problem. All right. So, okay, so there was, as I said, there was Ron Logan and another individual that was, meeting up, with the girls or whatnot. I guess when, as far as what, Keegan and Ron both said. Now Keegan was back at the house, but Keegan was told by them. But I'll stick to exactly what Ron was talking about. I guess. Okay, so Ron and his friend or whatever was walking in the general area. The girls were not on the bridge at the time when they walked through the first time. That they were looking somewhere down in a ravine area or something, as far as what I'm understanding. And the youngest girl, okay, Abby, okay, he said that she was talking about rabbits, little wild baby rabbits running around out through the area, okay, and that pretty much, so when he went to make the approach when he overheard it and said, hey, I got a couple rabbits down, I live down the way, and the girls didn't say anything and sped off, okay, and they walked up on the bridge, and they started looking down off the bridge, and so they made a decision to whoever the other person was to stay back, and Ron Logan was going to go approach again. Well, he did a couple laps. He seen the girls were getting nervous. It made him nervous. He pretty much went to go make another approach. The girls got kind of spooked. He backed up. He did a couple little, aerial laps, or whatnot. And he, told me that whoever this person was, told him, well, just go get it done. And so he walked up on the bridge, and that's when he approached the girls. So, that was that. He walked him off the bridge, however that even happened, and walked him off to the way, to the little area. From what I'm taking it is, whatever however the back of that way, was, however that went, walked him back to the way. I don't know how long after that, but there was a situation that happened after the girls got cuffed up, but they got handcuffed, okay, wrist to wrist, okay, and walking side by side. So, something, kind of transpired. The younger girl got loose, okay, and went to take off. The oldest girl was yelling at her, telling her, man, go call the cops, call grandma, and she was taking off to do it, and then pretty much Ron got a hold of the oldest girl and said, man, if you go, it's gonna be your fault. She looked confused, he said, and pretty much decided to stay, with her friend. And, but in the meantime, went to take off again, because she was yelling at her. Then the oldest girl got cut. Now, I don't know how bad the cut was. I don't know what happened. They took him even more, through closer to the back of the areas to where, towards the properties where Ron Logan lived. So I don't know what happened. And there was a period of time that I don't know what happened. I know Keegan Klein drove from dropping Ron Logan and this other individual over to the front of the way where the bridge area is. I don't know, out on the main road or something. And he turned around to get his vehicle back out of the area where it couldn't be seen and drove it back around the area where Ron Logan lived, and decided to walk back to the woods from Ron Logan's property to meet with him. He's seen by that time, according to him, I'm taking the information back and forth, from what they both said. Okay. But but then Keegan said that the girl was already cut. And then, there was just a period that I was still, that both of them kept blank. I don't know what happened. I don't know if their sole purpose was to do sexual violence to him. I don't know, man. There's just so much I still don't know. But there was a point to where they cut the oldest girl. They believed she was dead, but I'll get into that. But I guess she was kind of an unconscious state. They put her on a tarp. And they got a wheelbarrow and wheelbarrowed her all the way back to the property and laid her wrapped her in the tarp inside of one of his barns. The youngest girl they kept with him. I don't know. From what I was understanding, they left for a minute. They came back. Ron Logan wanted out of the area. Keegan Klein stayed at the house with the youngest girl the entire time.
So Keegan stayed at Ron Logan's house with Libby, right? Just to make a link between this statement and what we heard at the start of the live. We know that Ron Logan was doing some modifications to some areas of his house. He remodeled his bathroom, and the other rooms were just like in disarray, let's say. So it's interesting here in this statement from Rizzy Davis that allegedly Keegan Klein was with Libby at Ron Logan's house during a period of time.
That Ron Logan was gone. He went to go get rid of some evidence. I guess he came back a couple times real quick, and then he was just like, pretty much just Keegan was telling him, just get out of the area where you got an alibi. When he came back later on, he got spooked because there were detective cars everywhere. They had everything blocked off around the area. They had lights shining and stuff, in the area, trying to look in the wooded area, obviously searching for the girls. They had plans to get the girls out of the area, to take them off the properties around the area, but they realized that it was just too late to do that.
Hey, Reese.
Yeah.
Did Ron Logan? Did they say that they took the girls across the water, across the creek?
I mean, he didn't even. I don't know. He did not. Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever said nobody mentioned anything going, through any water. But none of this was detailed. as far as, there's this, like I said, there's a lot that I don't know. I mean, obviously I know now that there was water, but I was never told that there was, So, I don't want to sit here and assume.
No. I just didn't know if they said, no, because people are some people think that they crossed the creek. Some people don't. And I know, you.
Well, I know, if you remember right, I told you that whoever the third party was, this third person sprained their ankle in water, but it had to do with, as far as what I'm remembering, to go get clothing and got hung up on a limb in the water that washed down the creek area. And there was a limb in the creek, and there was some kind of clothing hanging off of it that didn't, So
who told you that? Who told you that?
This was Keegan.
He said that clothes. How did he say how clothes got in the creek?
Something was thrown in the creek. An article of clothing. And I guess it got caught up on a limb. He said, So
did they explain to you about how one girl got dressed in the other girl's clothes?
Listen to these guys. It's the best explanation ever about Libby being redressed with Libby's clothes. I mean, actually, we didn't have any explanation. Listen to Tom Webster, to Gray Hughes, to Fix Alls, to Frank Meister, to anyone here in this community. Shitty explanations about that. At least Steve from True Crime Web, he was humble enough to say, I don't know. And I love Steve. Thank you, Steve. I love Steve. But for that scenario, Libby being redressed with Abby's clothes, Abby being redressed with Libby's clothes, we didn't have any answer. Just maybe the killer was trying to mislead law enforcement. We didn't know. It's a mystery. It's a freaking mystery. And the best answer is gonna be the answer that was given by Keegan Klein. I'm not saying that that's true, but there are two options here, in my opinion, in my mind. That confession that Keegan Klein made to Reese Davis was true because it makes sense. The explanation makes sense. Or Keegan Klein is not the stupid guy you think he is, the fat guy behind the computer, not able to walk and not able to participate in a crime because we underestimate Keegan Klein. He's not that stupid, and he's bright enough to formulate this theory, this explanation he's gonna give, because it's the best answer so far for that scenario, for Libby being redressed with for Abby being redressed with Libby's clothes. So let's listen to this.
Yeah, okay. What was explained is, while they thought that, that the oldest girl was already, deceased, what they did was put the youngest girl in her clothes because her clothes were gone and they didn't want nothing to look suspicious. So they had planned to go ahead and take her anyway. And they didn't want her to look, have a naked girl, half naked girl, being taken with them. So they traded the,
But what do you mean? They didn't want her to look suspicious. Like, were they?
Well, a naked girl. They didn't want to take a naked girl.
Where were they planning on taking her?
I don't know. It was really never said. They took her to the property. They got there. They kind of was tripping, like, what we're going to do, and everything was rapidly happening so fast. And then they realized that there was people out through the areas already looking. So I don't know what their ultimate plan was.
Did they ever? Was it ever discussed when they actually when they actually had the girls get undressed? Because I mean, the oldest girl had to have been undressed before she was killed.
Well, right. I mean, no, I was never explained. That's what I was saying. I don't know, that I don't know if their intention was to sexually assault them. I don't know if the clothes were taken beforehand off of them. That's what I'm saying. There's kind of a gap that I don't know. It was just, kind of like, I mean, they just jumped around with information, and this information didn't come out in one day. This information was like a period of time, especially with Ron Logan. I mean, I talked to him every day. I was the only person he talked to, but every day, I spoke to him, and it was really a piece of work, speaking to him, because it's like anytime I would ask a question, he would just kind of get all leery and suspicious, and it seemed like he'd want to shut down on me. But if I allowed him to just kind of get in his little zone of talking, he would pretty much kind of get a little loose on information. So I would just kind of, I would kind of let him kind of, freestyle his conversations. You know what I mean? He just kind of, but you could tell he hasn't been in the prison environment, because, I mean, to come off with that kind of information to somebody you don't really know is a really unusual thing. I mean, as far as my experience,
So what do you
kind of,
what do you say to someone who says they don't think that you have enough information?
I mean, I don't know what I have and what I don't have. So that's not for me to determine. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, I might not, but yet I might. I mean, that's up to a real investigator doing a real investigation, as far as what I believe, though, I mean, is, that it's significant. I mean, it's enough. To really, look into things, because there's a lot of information, and they correspond with each other, both of them.
So let me.
That's just it.
Let me ask you.
Sorry, I was muted. I was saying that at this point, Kegan Klein, he gave an explanation regarding to Abby being redressed with Libby's clothes, which makes a lot of sense to me. And what is coming is the explanation about the sticks placed on the girls of the placed above the bodies of the girls, and one of the sticks in that geometric pattern is gonna be placed on the throats of the girls. So this is another interesting information, in my opinion, another interesting explanation given by Kegan Klein about this crime scene scenario. So let's continue with the interview to Rizzy Davis, which I think is an excellent, awesome material. Again, thank you, Amy, for that interview, for those interviews, because I think so far you published 2 interviews about Reese Davis. So this is awesome material. So let's continue here for a couple of minutes.
Do this. Was Ron Logan ever kept in a cell with no clothes and with his dentures taken away from him? Are you aware of any kind of situation like that?
Not at all.
Okay.
I never heard that before, but okay. Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, it's not that I know of.
Did he ever
what I've
discuss with you why he would allow the bodies to be left on his property?
Because the search teams weren't giving up on it. They decided, both of them decided, it was Keegan Klein's idea, okay, that if, that pretty much that they were screwed, that they weren't willing to take the girls from the property in a vehicle, that, that pretty much they couldn't get them any further back, within the area where it's being searched. So, they just take them to where they took him and, pretty much staged the area, because Keegan said that he convinced him that, due to his age and stuff, that pretty much the detectives and investigation wouldn't believe, after staging it the way that they did, they wouldn't believe that somebody like him would have been able to do that kind of staging.
So that was another question that I had. People asked, why did KK propose to stage the scene like witchcraft? I know that you've discussed this, but I think people want you to discuss it again.
This is very interesting. Again, hard to know if Keegan Kline was telling the truth here, but interesting. Remember, before listening to this information, remember that Keegan Kline, he's an ordained minister. So he knows about religion, he knows about rituals. Again, guys, we tend to underestimate Keegan Kline. He's not stupid. He's not the fat guy behind the computer. We have testimonies of other girls in the unrelated case to Delphi, the season case against Keegan Kline. He was looking for the victims' addresses. He was stalking people. He was stalking girls. He was not a static fat guy behind the computer. And here he's gonna talk about the significance of the sticks. And before listening to that, keep in mind that he was an ordained minister. He knows about religion. He knows about rituals. He married his own mother. So don't underestimate this guy. He's a creepy piece of shit. He's dangerous. He's violent. So let's continue here.
Okay, it's pretty much what I just said. Actually, it's because that if pretty much that they wouldn't believe that somebody as Ron Logan in his age would have been able to to stage that type of area, to that degree, to be able to. It would have been unfitting for somebody that age. So it was his idea to do it because they couldn't get him off the property. So that was the best solution. It's pretty much that since they had to stay on the property because they knew that they were going to come and want to search the property. They knew that. So pretty much, his best idea was.
Was there a time frame given as to when they put the girls where they put them? Because it just seems like there was like this huge search party going on. How were they able to get the girls to where they got them without ever being caught?
Your guess is better than mine. And there was, okay, as I said, they were moved. Definitely the oldest girl was moved 3 times, as far as they said. The youngest girl was moved twice until they finally was able to get them to the destination. I don't know. I don't have that answer either. I mean, I don't know.
Do you know if anyone took pictures of the crime scene?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, yeah, I know there has been people now, but at the time, no.
Neither one of them said anything like that to you?
No, not at all.
Well,
Not saying it hasn't or it has. I'm just, but they haven't.
So, I mean, looking back on the whole situation and up until you were taken out of your dorm, when all of this came to light, where Keegan was aware that you were probably the one speaking about all of this, what was his behavior like?
Oh boy. Okay, it was more of because I was put on the witness list to go testify at the trial. The defense had me on there. So that was, that was, going to happen. Keegan Klein came, and I didn't realize it yet, that any witness list came out. But Keegan Klein came to me and he said, man, hey, did you realize you're on a witness list? It threw him off because I never told him, anything about, the Ron Logan thing.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Boy. All right. You want me to call back, obviously, right?
Yes. Call back.
No problem.
Okay. Call me back.
All
right. Bye.
All right.
Guys, like I said from day one, don't shoot the messenger. And he's been in prison for 14 years. So he doesn't know the layout. He doesn't know the geographic area of the bridge and Ron Logan's property. He only knows what he was told. And we can agree to disagree that what he has to say is true or false. I personally believe that he was told these things. That doesn't mean that Keegan Klein or Ron Logan was being truthful. However, the one thing that makes sense here is that they both told very similar stories years apart without the other being present.
I agree, Carol. He was not that big, and we have a lot of material in internet. We can see Keegan Klein hiking with his father in trails. We can see Keegan Klein in parties again with Tony Klein. We can see Keegan Klein driving, going out. So he was not the lazy, stupid, idiot, fat guy behind the computer. Yes, he was lazy, but he was going out as well, and he was not that fat. Like people saying that he couldn't be someone participating in the crime because he was obese or because he was just so fat. I don't buy that at all. At least he was fit enough to drive a car to the cemetery, and that's enough to be part of this crime, and that's enough for the pieces fitting together, because that's what he confessed. He confessed that he went to the cemetery, he drove to the cemetery with his father, and his father went to commit the crime with another guy. We don't know who was the other guy, this guy, allegedly, and that his father came back full of blood, telling him that he had fun, or that they had some fun. And after that, they drove to Peru. I don't know exactly what was the path or the direction they took to come back. I think it was the Wabash River direction. Some people said that they took another direction, that there was another bridge, but in my opinion, it was the Wabash River, and that was the the place or the area or the location where they discarded that item. So let's continue here.
That is the scariest part of this whole thing, as they were both telling the same story. And from day one, since I've started talking to Reese, his version has never changed. And his version has not wavered, and he's not trying to embellish. He's not tried to add or take away. He only knows what he knows. And I mean, all we can do is take it for what it's worth compared to the version of what the state presented at trial, compared to all of the other versions of the story that we've been told. What do you believe? That's the problem. What do we believe? What can we believe? Who can we trust? And here we go. He's back. Hello? Hello?
That's the problem.
Oh, mute that. D, mute it. Yeah, there we go. So there's a lot, we have a lot of speculation. We have a lot of speculation in the chat. Okay, let's go back to the handcuffs. Was there any specific way that they described the girls being handcuffed, or was it just wrist to wrist?
And I'm gonna take advantage of something here. We don't talk too much about the crime scene scenario. We talk about the sticks. We talk about the throats of the girls being cut, but we don't talk too much about the condition of the body of Libby. And I understand that this is maybe because we try to remain respectful, but I know a lot of you guys, you saw the pictures of the crime scene. I saw the pictures. And when we watch, when we observe the face of Libby, something happened there. Her nose is just, I don't know what happened to her nose. It's not normal. Was he punched? Because her nose is just like, I know this is a very sensitive subject, but I want to know your opinion, guys, about this, because no one is talking about that. I think the only one that talked barely about this was that piece of shit of Frank from the Netherlands. What's the name of this guy? I even forgot. Oh, no, he's not from the Netherlands. He's from Germany. But I have to accept he was right. The nose of Libby it was just like, was he punched? Was she hit with I don't know, with some type of object, with a rock? I don't know. It's not normal, or maybe just with a fist, let's say. But it was not only a scenario where the throats were cut. For Libby, for Abby, maybe, yes. We know that her throat was cut, that he had a puncture on her chest. But with Libby, there was a total different situation. So, and I think this type of details are important here, guys. And we don't talk about that. I don't know why, but the face of Libby is just not normal. It's not normal at all. It wasn't just a cut on her throat. Something happened before or after, but her face is, something happened to her face. I want to know your opinion about that, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but this is what I see when I observe the pictures.
It was wrist to wrist, is all I know. I don't think, that I can remember anything that it was wrist to wrist. One girl cuffed to the other girl. So I mean, I can't really.
And then the younger girl got out.
Yeah, she slipped out. They said that she had a small wrist and she was able to wiggle through.
And can you describe what they claimed about that in more detail?
I mean, I'll be honest. I kind of did. There was really no more detail on that than what I've got. It was as far as what part, because I thought I covered that. I'm sorry.
No, you did. But I think that there's people coming and going from the chat who are asking.
Okay. Oh, you want me to re-explain it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just kind of go back over, like, Abby, the littler one, she slipped out of the cuff, and then what happened?
Okay. So, Abby, right? Okay, Abby. Okay, so she, somehow wiggled through the cuffs. She went to take off. When she went to take off, she got a little bit of waves, and the oldest girl said, "Just go, just go. Call grandma. Call the police. Call grandma. Something." And she went to take off again.
And those are the words. Those are the words that you were told. Call grandma.
Yeah, that. Call grandma. Call the police.
Mm.
That's what It's the exact words. But the oldest girl ended up getting cut and said, if you take off, pretty much what happens is going to be your fault. The oldest girl still told her to go anyway, and I don't know if she was like petrified in fear and she wouldn't leave, or she just didn't want to leave her friend. I don't know which one, but she stayed and walked back to Ron Logan.
Mm. Do you know how heartbreaking that is? That's so heartbreaking.
He's kind of quiet right at this last few, minutes.
Okay, talk louder because I think you're fading out. Did you ever in any writing that you sent to Nick McClelland, did you ever bring up a phone battery being taken out of a phone?
Yeah, I brought it up at the first investigation in 2017 also, but yes.
Okay, can you explain that?
I also brought it to Nick McClelland. See, Ron Logan had a flip phone, a personal phone that he used as a flip phone, and there was a certain point, and I can't even tell you when, or I don't know if it was that phone. He was talking about his flip phone. But there was a phone that had a battery taken out or something taken out of a phone, trying to cover the. Hey, I've been locked up for so long, I can't even tell you how this stuff works, man. But there was something where he didn't want it to be tracked, or there was just something about.
Do you know what's interesting about that? Do you know what's interesting about that, Reese? Is that
not really?
Is that none of the letters that Nick McClelland included in his filings from you, none of them discussed a phone battery. When the state, when the defense filed their first motion to correct error, and they first initially introduced your name and your statement, nothing in those statements ever discussed a phone battery. Yet when Nick McClelland responded, he included information about a phone battery, which tells us all that there are letters from you that he received that he is not divulging to the public. That's what's important about that. I know that you know that, but I'm saying that is proof in the pudding that he's talking about a phone battery that so far publicly, we've never seen anything from you in writing about a phone battery. But he's making it out.
Exactly, Mar, in 2017. So we have the backscatter information in 2017, and we have the battery information at that time. How How special is that? Huh?
He made it out as if you were discussing Libby's phone, her battery being taken out of her phone.
Well, I mean, absolutely not. Like I said, I don't know which phone it was. I know there was also some burner phones involved too. You know, which I really didn't get into that part, but there was some burner phones involved in this little child. What do you call it, man? I don't know what you call it, but this exploitation thing that they were. I don't know. I didn't get into that, but there were some other phones involved too. So I can't tell you what phones what. I don't know anything about phones anymore. I've been, I got about 23 years in prison altogether, and a lot of this stuff's like really new to me, yeah. I was only out about a year, and really I didn't mess with a whole lot then when I was out. I mean, I was kind of still trying to get used to life, so. Yeah.
So you're still in segregation, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
I'm watching the chat.
I'm gonna stop here, guys. If you want to listen to the whole interview, you can go to Amy's channel. Actually, she made 2 interviews, awesome interviews with Reese Davis. Very interesting information there. Something to dig about it. So it's more than 2 hours here. A lot of people. I'm glad to have this amount of people today. I know I didn't read all of your comments, guys. It was really awesome. Just before leaving, just remember that Keegan Klein, you cannot underestimate that guy. That guy was creepy. That guy was looking for addresses. That guy was stalking people, girls, boys. He was threatening people with and girls with kidnapping, stuff like that. We can do a whole show of, I don't know, 10 hours about Keegan Klein. Just don't underestimate that piece of shit. I wanted to know, really, your opinions about the crime scene pictures. Again, this is something that is interesting to me because no one is discussing that subject. We are just talking about the cuts on the throats, about the sticks, but I really want to know your opinion about the injuries on Libby's face. Maybe today is not the time to do this type of show. It's already more than 2 hours. Maybe tomorrow. I'm gonna take advantage because tomorrow here in Canada is a holiday. So I'm gonna talk about that tomorrow, guys, and I really want to know your opinion about that. And thank you all of you guys for being here. Remember to hit the like, to subscribe. If you want to become a member, why not? Support the channel. And see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much. Stay in touch. Bye-bye.